This is Liz, I read, and today I'm going to be doing my top 10 recommendation for trilogies. So like I said in my previous video, a lot of my books I take out from the library, so I don't have actual physical copies on me, but I'm hoping to put little beautiful images here for you of the books. There is a bit of an order for the books. I start with my least favorite all the way to my favorite. Starting at number 10 is Unearthly by Cynthia Han. So I will let you know, I only read the first one, but I really enjoyed it. So that's why it's at my number 10. I would probably do it higher if I finished the trilogy. The first one's Unearthly by Cynthia Han. The second one is Hollowed, and I'm planning to read it really soon. And then the third one is Boundless. So hopefully I like the second one, and then I can go on to the third one as well. So this one follows Clara. She finds out she's part angel when she's around 14 years old. And her mother, I believe, is full angel, if I remember correctly. Anyways, she finds out she's part angel. And when she's 16, she starts having these visions. And it's the same vision over and over again that she has. And the vision tells her what her purpose is going to be on Earth. And so she's kind of trying to figure out what her purpose is by interpreting these visions. And it's always the same vision. She's envisioning a boy standing in front of a forest fire. And sometimes it's from different angles and different perspectives. But eventually she finds out that she has to move. So her and her mom and her brother move across country in order to find out what her purpose is, hopefully meet this boy. Anyways, she goes to the school, and it's also about her adjusting to a new life, making new friends, meeting new boys. So I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. There was a lot of contemporary moments, which I was really thankful for. I think I was kind of really feeling more of a contemporary than a paranormal. So I highly recommend it. Hopefully the other two books are better, or not better, are good, just as good. So that's why it's at my number 10, because I haven't finished the trilogy. And number 9, I actually have a physical copy here, is The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. I really enjoyed this one quite a bit. So the second one is The Invasion of the Tearling, and the third is The Fate of the Tearling. Now again, just like Unearthly, I haven't finished the trilogy, but I really enjoyed this book. It was way better than I was expecting. This is actually an adult fiction. It's not a young adult. This one follows Kelsey, and she's raised by her two guardians who've been commissioned to raise her and train her and prepare her for her throne, because she's actually going to be queen of the Tearling, obviously. So when she's 19, her armed guard picks her up from her cottage and takes her to her kingdom. It's a bit of a journey to get there, and it's about her coming of age, adjusting to being queen, what that means. There's a lot of politics in here as well. So there's a lot of problems happening in this kingdom. She's learning to take charge, kind of under siege by this neighboring kingdom. The neighboring kingdom has been threatening them with war, and to appease them, the Tearling has been sending slaves. It's about Kelsey trying to figure out what she should do, because obviously slavery is bad, and in the neighboring kingdom is actually ruled by a sorceress with dark magic. So it's really good. I found it very violent. There is a lot of mature themes in here. Like I said, there's dark magic, darker than I would like. But I was just so intrigued that it just gripped me right away. Yeah, I do recommend it if you think you can handle that. So at number 8, people may disagree with me, but at number 8 is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. So I read this quite a long time ago. I read it like 5 years ago. So The Hunger Games, the 3 books are The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. And I really enjoyed it at the time. I liked the first 2 books, and the third one was like, eh. But the first 2 books were really good, and so I still recommend it. Maybe you would like the last book better than me, but I'm sure almost all of you know what it's about. But it's about Katniss, and it's a dystopian world. And in this dystopian world, the 12 districts are ruled by the capital, and in order for the capital to keep the districts under control, they force each district every year to send a tribute. and it's a boy and a girl, and in order to determine the tributes, they have this lottery. So one year Katniss's sister is selected, and so Katniss decides to take her place in the Hunger Games, and so the tributes then go and train, and they are thrown in this ring, and it's a free-for-all essentially. They all have to fight to the death. It's still a YA, but it's kind of dark topic, children killing other children, like it's kind of sad. But I really enjoyed the first 2 books for sure. Last book I don't remember very well, but I remember like by the end of it I was just kind of done with it. But I still recommend it if you really like dystopias. Okay, so now at number 7 is Divergent by Veronica Roth. So a lot of you may disagree with me. I liked it better than the Hunger Games. There's Divergent, there's Insurgent, and then there's Allegiant. Again, it's another dystopian. Cities divided by factions, and I have the factions written down, please forgive me, but there's Candor, they are honest. Adnic Nation, I can never say it, is selfless. Then there's Dauntless, which they're all brave. And Amidity, they're peaceful, and then Erudite is intelligent, and so it's all divided in those factions. When you were 16, you go through a test to kind of determine what your faction would be, but then you still get to decide which faction you want to kind of live in, I guess. So this story follows Triss. She's turning 16, she's lived Adnic Nation her whole life, and then she goes through the test and she finds out she's a Divergent, which means she doesn't fall into one single category. And she learns that the person who's testing her like says, don't say anything, otherwise you'll be dead. She doesn't know what to do, and she ends up deciding to go for Dauntless, which is pretty much the opposite of Adnic Nation. Anyways, it's about her adjusting to her new faction. This faction is so fascinating because these people are insane. They like jump off buildings, they dive into deep waters, they do all these like kind of scary things, which I would never do, but it's kind of fun to read about. And Triss has to go through this intense initiation. She has to go through this intense initiation. She has to fight all her peers who are going through the same initiation. She has to do all these fear tests, so she has to face her fears all the time. And yeah, it's about her, and she falls in love, of course. And I just recently read 4, which is the short story compilation of the Divergent series. It's from 4's perspective, and I really enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me why I enjoyed the series. Allegiant wasn't my favorite. It wasn't even like the ending I hated. Like, the ending kind of made sense. It was just more the direction they were going with the whole last story. I just problems with dystopian, so I think that's the reason I haven't read a dystopian in a long time. I find like it's never satisfying the direction that dystopians go, because the world is so messed up. There's real no one solution, I find. I still recommend it if you want a trilogy and you want a dystopian. And number 6 is not a dystopian, but is a fantasy, and that is Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. Now, I really enjoyed this one. I read it a year ago. The second one is Miss Mayhem, and the third one is Lady Renegades. And this one, it follows Harper. She's a Southern belle, and she's so excited by homecoming because she's expecting to become homecoming queen. And at the dance, she goes into the bathroom, and then she like gets in this scuffle with her history teacher, and then all of a sudden she has these like magical powers that makes her extremely strong. She can fight to the death and win every time. And she later finds out she becomes a paladin, which is a guardian, one of many ancient guardians, and she finds out she has to become the guardian of her enemy at school. His name's David, and they like butt heads all the time. It's super cute. It really reminds me of Buffy the Vampire Slayer minus the vampires. Kind of similar concept where it's a girly girl who's forced to become a superhero essentially. So I really enjoyed that. The whole trilogy itself I enjoyed. Like, I felt like it was a kind of pretty satisfying ending. It wasn't it ended well. It wasn't a typical ending, but at the same time it was. So, I don't know. Anyways, I definitely recommend it if you like adventure and fantasy, but it's still has plenty of contemporary elements in it because it follows Harper, who is like a Southern belle. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. 6, unfortunately, is another dystopian. You're gonna think I only read dystopians. And number 6 is The Maze Runner by James Dashner. Again, it's one of these dystopians where I'm not satisfied with the last book entirely, but I still recommend it because I absolutely loved the first one. The first one, like, freaked me out so much. Like I've said before, I'm kind of a sensitive soul, so the fact that I find The Maze Runner kind of scary is kind of sad. But I was still so engrossed and I really wanted to know what was going on, and it was very mysterious. The story follows Thomas, and like in the beginning of the book he just wakes up and he's in this lift that's lifting him up like an elevator, and he knows nothing. The only thing he knows is his name. Elevator opens up on top and he's looking around and he sees all these teenage boys around him, and he finds out that they themselves don't really know what's going on. All they know is their name, and they've all come up the same way through this elevator shaft. And so he finds himself in the glade, as they call it, and it's an enclosed space, grass and trees, and there's like kind of a little hawk farm that's going on, and a makeshift shelter, but they're all surrounded by 4 large stone walls. And there's entrances and exits within the glade. They're kind of like in the middle of a maze, and the only way out, they believe, is going somewhere out of the maze. So it's about him adjusting to this new society, essentially, of all these teenage boys, and they're kind of in survival mode, but they're so determined to get out of their situation. It's about him living in this new society and figuring out this new, trying to figure out what's going on. And then one day a girl comes out of the shaft who's kind of passed out, and she has a mysterious note. So I loved the first one. The second one was still pretty good. I thought it was almost scarier than the first one, but I powered through it. And then the last one, I wasn't really satisfied either. It wasn't my favorite, but I still really enjoyed the first 2 books, so I still recommend them. And number 4 is The Grey Sling by Kristen Cashore. I really enjoyed this trilogy. They're actually companion novels. So there's The Grey Sling, there's Fire, and then there's Bitter Blue. And so they're all, like I said, they're companion novels, but I would still recommend reading it in that order because I just recommend it. I don't want to spoil anything. But the first one is The Grey Sling. So it's a fantasy, and in this kingdom there is some people who are graced, as they call it, with an extreme skill. This story follows Katza, and she's skilled to kill a man with her bare hands. So she can just kill anyone, which sounds really gruesome, but she just, that's her skill. Some people have a skill of baking. They can bake amazing things. Some people have like mental things. They can either read your minds, or they just can think really fast. I don't know. It's different for everyone. Some people are skilled to climb really high, or I don't know, like some of them are super silly, but some of them are like kind of scary and dangerous. So like Katza is kind of scary and kind of dangerous. Anyway, she finds out she's capable of doing this when she's like 8 years old, and then her uncle, who's king of her kingdom, finds out about the skill and kind of uses and abuses her skill in order to keep people in check. Fast forward to when she's an adult, she's very insecure. She struggles with her grace because it's very demeaning to have such a horrible grace, and she's super tomboyish, super tough, like takes crap from no one, obviously, because she's capable of doing such horrible things. She feels like no one can really get her or understand her until she meets Prince Poe, who has a very similar skill. He's skilled with combat. He can fight anyone and pretty much win, no matter what. And so they bond over kind of a similar skill. Story takes on from there. They kind of go on their own adventure together. So I really enjoyed this one. Out of the 3, it's not my favorite. I think the Bitter Blue was my absolute favorite, but I would still recommend reading it in that order that I said. The second one is Fire, and it's interesting because it's a totally separate story with kind of parallel characters, but it's a different kingdom, different kind of magic system, I guess I would say. There's monsters, all the normal species there, but there's monster dragons, or there's monster horses, or monster where they have like special extra abilities. And Fire follows the monster human, and she's the last monster human. And she can like read minds, and she can do all these amazing abilities. And again, it's kind of a similar story where she's reserved because of her abilities and things like that. So anyways, I definitely recommend the series. It was very interesting. I loved it. Like I said, Bitter Blue was my favorite, and I would definitely read Bitter Blue last because it kind of brings all the 3 books together at the end. Number 3 is actually contemporary, and the 3rd one is Once Upon a Prince by Rachel Hawke. I love this trilogy so much, and I'm so upset actually because I just found out there's a 4th one, so I guess technically it's not a trilogy, but it's been a trilogy for a long time, and I wasn't expecting a 4th book. But anyways, I'm still counting it as a trilogy. Royal Wedding series, as it's called, but it's still just Susanna. She's just recently broken up with her boyfriend, and she's really upset because they've been together for over 12 years, and she was expecting a proposal, and instead he broke up with her, and she's devastated. And eventually she meets Nathaniel. He was there for her when she was in need, and he so happens to be a prince, which is very convenient and exciting. And yeah, it's great. It was a super cute read. I'm running out of steam and super tired right now. I'm so sorry. I love this trilogy. So it's Once Upon a Prince, Princess Ever After, and How to Catch a Prince. And like I said, those were the original 3. There is a 4th one now called Royal Christmas Wedding. It just came out, I think, last year, so it was kind of a surprise for me. But it kind of follows all the same royal family, and it follows each prince or princess. Hey everyone, I'm sorry my camera like pooped out, so I'm sorry, and I'm pooping out because I'm so tired, so please bear with me. So, and number 2 is Anna and the French Kiss. So this is my second favorite trilogy that I'm recommending you. Within the trilogy is Lola and the Boy Next Door, and Isla, I think it's Isla, and The Happily Ever After. And these are all written by Stephanie Perkins. So this follows Anna, of course. Follows Anna, and she is super excited. Her senior year in high school, she's excited because she has a crush on this boy, and things are possibly going to go well for her, spending time with her best friend and everything. And then everything comes to a halt because her dad decides to send her to Paris, to a boarding school, which she's not thrilled about, which doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, so it's about her adjusting to her new school, making new friends, her kind of discovering the city a bit. Then she meets St. Clair, who is European and handsome and charming and everything. So it's about her relationship with him, her brand new friends in this boarding school, and traveling around Paris, because why not? It was super cute. I loved the other 2 novels as well. They're all companions, so it doesn't really matter which order you read them in. I try to read books written by release date. That's most likely the way that the authors intended it to be read, so that's what I try to do. Definitely recommend. And last but not least, Delirium by Lauren Oliver. So this is another dystopian. In this world, love is considered a disease. And so when everyone turns 18, they have this procedure done on them, so they are unable to love again. But it's considered a disease because everyone acts strange and funny when you fall in love and all the fuzzies. And in this society, they believe it's wrong. So they force this procedure on everyone. And up until then, everyone's segregated. All the girls and boys are separated from each other. You're not allowed to communicate or talk or touch or anything because you don't want to get sick. So this story follows Lena, I think it's Lena, and she really wants the procedure done because her mother has fallen to the disease and actually died. So she's kind of has a tainted reputation based on the events of her mother, and so she's desperate for the procedures to happen because she doesn't want to fall in love and fall into the disease and end up like her mother. So it follows Lena, and she has these opinions, she has these feelings up until she meets Alex only months before her procedure is set, and then she develops this relationship with Alex, who does not follow all the rules accordingly, and she actually ends up falling in love with him. This is one of my favorite trilogies. This is one of my favorite stories. This is one of my favorite dystopians. I loved the whole thing about it. I actually have a theory of the first one, which I don't want to say anything about because it would ruin the whole book for you, but I would definitely recommend it. The way Lauren Oliver writes is just fabulous. She's very poetic, and I just highly recommend it. I just fell in love with it. Like I said, I have a theory, and I'm hoping to maybe make a theory video about this book. I would have to reread it and take notes and things, so it would take some work. But anyways, that is everything. Those are my top 10 trilogies. Next time, I won't be filming 11 o'clock at night, otherwise I'm gonna fall asleep like I am doing right now. So I'm so sorry, but guys, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below. I'll be posting again next week. And everyone, I want you to keep reading. Bye!